Let's explore PHP functions, focusing on anonymous functions and closures. These are powerful tools for writing flexible and concise code. We'll see how they work and where they're most useful. Anonymous functions are functions without names that can be stored in variables and passed as arguments to other functions. So, what exactly are anonymous functions? Well, they are functions that are declared without a name. Because of this, they are also known as closures. These functions can be assigned to variables or passed as parameters to other functions. Here is a basic example. First, we assign an anonymous function to the variable $greeting. This function returns the string, hello world. Then we can call the function with the line, echo $greeting, open and close parenthesis, semicolon. Let's explore how to create anonymous functions in PHP. First, we will create an anonymous function with parameters. We assign an anonymous function to the variable $add. This function takes two parameters, $a and $b. The function returns the sum of $a and $b. Then we can call the function with the line echo $add, open parenthesis 5,3, close parenthesis, semicolon. The output would be 8. Remember to include the semicolon after the closing brace of the function. Now let's assign an anonymous function to an array. Here the array $operations has an index called multiply which is assigned an anonymous function. This function takes two arguments $x and $y. It returns the product of $x and $y. Then we call the function using the array index with the line echo $operations square bracket single quote multiply single quote close square bracket open parenthesis 4,6 close parenthesis semicolon. Anonymous functions are frequently used as callback functions. Here are a couple of common examples. First is the array map function. Array map applies a callback function to the elements of given arrays. Here we have an array $numbers that contains the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We assign the variable $squared to the result of the array map function. The array map function takes two arguments. The first argument is an anonymous function that takes $n as an argument and returns $n times $n. The second argument is the array $numbers. The result is that each element of the array $numbers is squared. Then the result is assigned to the array $squared. We can display the contents of the array with the print underscore our function. Next, we will look at the array filter function. Array filter filters the elements of an array using a callback function. Again, we have the array $numbers that contains the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We assign the variable $even to the result of the array filter function. The array filter function takes two arguments. The first argument is the array $numbers. The second argument is an anonymous function that takes $n as an argument. This anonymous function returns $n modulo 2 == 0. That is, it returns true if $n is an even number. The result is that only the even numbers from the array $numbers are assigned to the array $even. We can display the contents of the array with the print underscore our function. Let's take a closer look at closures. A closure allows anonymous functions to access variables from the parent scope using the use keyword. Here is an example. We assign the variable $message the string hello from closure. Now we assign the variable $closure, an anonymous function that uses the message variable from the parent scope. The anonymous function simply echoes the message. Finally, we call the anonymous function with $closure, open and close parenthesis semicolon. This will output the string hello from closure. Let's examine closures by reference. By default, when you use the use keyword, the variable from the parent scope is passed by value, not by reference. Here is an example of this. We assign the variable $count a value of 0. Then we assign the variable $increment, an anonymous function that uses the count variable from the parent scope. The anonymous function increments the variable $count and then echoes it. Then we call the anonymous function. This will output the value 1. After this, we echo the count variable from the parent scope. This will output the value 0. The variable from the parent scope was not modified. In order to modify the variable from the parent scope, we must pass it by reference using an ampersand. Here is an example of this. Again, we assign the variable $count a value of 0. Then we assign the variable $increment, an anonymous function that uses the count variable from the parent scope. Note that in the use statement we have an ampersand before the count variable. This indicates that we are passing the variable by reference. The anonymous function increments the variable $count and then echoes it. Then we call the anonymous function. This will output the value 1. After this, we echo the count variable from the parent scope. This will output the value 1 because the variable from the parent scope was modified. Here is a practical example of a closure. In this example, we will create a counter function factory. We create a function called createCounter. Inside this function, we initialize the variable $count to 0. Then we return an anonymous function that uses the count variable from the parent scope. Notice that the count variable is passed by reference using the ampersand. The anonymous function increments the count variable and returns it. After the function definition, we assign the variable $counter1, the result of calling the function createCounter. Similarly, we assign the variable $counter2, the result of calling the function createCounter. Since the count variable is local to the function createCounter, each counter will maintain its own state independently. Next, we call each of the counters a few times. First, we call $counter1 3 times. Each time it increments and returns the current count. So it outputs 1, 2, and then 3. Then we call $counter2 twice. Again, it increments and returns the current count. So it outputs 1 and then 2. Let's review the key takeaways from this lesson. First, we learned about anonymous functions. These are functions without names that can be stored in variables. They are perfect for callbacks in one-time use situations. Don't forget the semicolon after the closing brace. Next, we learned about closures. Closures allow you to access the parent scope using the use keyword. Use the ampersand for reference to modify the original variable. Closures are great for creating encapsulated functionality. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.